One of the big issues I see a lot with guitar players when they're learning how to play is that they have a hard time with the concept of phrasing. What I want to do is I just want to take a few minutes here and kind of explain to you how to think about phrasing and how to enhance your ability to play when you solo, how to play phrases and how to break apart things to make it a bit more interesting. So let's just think about this. A phrase really is just a block of information, right? If you were writing a bunch of sentences, right? So you got your pencil and a piece of paper and you write a sentence, and then you write a sentence, and then you write a sentence. And then you go back and you look at that sentence or that block of information, which is a phrase, okay? And you see that every sentence is exactly the same length, and every sentence ends with a period, and then whatever other similarities there would be between these sentences. They're all really the same. You know, it's like if you've ever seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off when he's going, Bueller, 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 Bueller. It can be funny for a while, but after a while you're going to go, okay, that's about enough of that. But guitar players, we do it all the time. We play the same things. We start on the same beat. We play the same length. We play the same dynamic, right? We play the same amount of notes. All those sorts of things that happens over and over and over, and we're just not aware of it is the problem. So the better we become aware of trying to make things different, to try and make those phrases more interesting. And what I use, whether or not this is a real term or not, I use the term dynamic contrast or dynamic variation. What I want you to think about is just making a variety of sizes and shapes of the things that you're doing to make your phrasing more interesting. If you just played something that was long, play something that's short. If you played something that was high up on the guitar, play something that's low. If you've just been moving around, try and play in one spot, right? If you've been playing kind of loud, play quieter. Use your volume control or pick softer versus picking harder. You know, anything that contrasts. Think of it this way: fast, slow, high, low, loud, soft, right? Long, short. Play, don't play. You know, learning how to actually stop playing on the guitar is really important because it gives your ear, it gives your listener a break. They hear the end. They hear a period to your sentence, right? So when you're playing, if you're going like this, it might be interesting to watch and that sort of thing, but there's nothing to grab onto. There's no phrase. It's not stopping. It's just a whole sentence that just keeps going and going and going. Sometimes that's awesome. My point, though, is if you just did that and it was awesome, let's break that up by doing something else, right? So if you do something like this, okay, I have some sentences that are similar, and then I have some sentences that are different. And notice how I actually patternized them to make it into a bit of a melody, okay? Now, melody is something a little bit different and requires another conversation as well. Where right now we're just talking about phrasing, being able to chop things up into different sizes and make those pieces more interesting by playing high and low and fast and slow and loud and soft and all those sorts of things. But that's what I want you to think about. So when you hear a song and you're going to solo over the top, one thing that you want to do is gain control of yourself before you ever begin. Okay, don't just go, all right, what are the 3 fastest licks that I know? And then you just start playing. Don't do that. Walk into the solo, calm and relaxed, and start trying to feel your way around a little bit. Again, the more you do this, the better you're going to get with it, which is why you practice at home where you're confident and there's no stress because there isn't anybody critiquing you and all that sort of thing. But start getting comfortable with thinking about that. So if you just played something that was a bit longer and a little faster, then try and break it up with something shorter. Or if you played something that was more arpeggiated, then try and play something a bit more scalular. You know, whatever it be. More contrast, pentatonic versus diatonic. If you just played something that was pentatonic, maybe go into something a bit more diatonic. You know what I mean? Just, you're always trying to think about, I went to supper one time with this famous jazz guitar player that I won't mention, but just amazingly cool guy. And the question that I asked him that stuck with me ever since then is, I said to him, when you're soloing, what are you thinking about? And he said to me, he said, if I think about something and I recognize it, then I stop doing it. And I always thought that was really interesting because in my mind, what I thought that meant was he changes gears, he shifts gears. If it's something that he recognizes that he's been doing, he does something else. So you're just always trying to make something interesting. Now, that doesn't mean we don't want repetition. Of course we can use repetition. But if we go back to the original story about those sentences, if it's that much repetition, it's going to get old. If you did a couple of those sentences as repetition, but then changed it up on the third sentence, and then came back to that sentence again, well, now all of a sudden you start getting into themes and melodies and all those sorts of things, which can be very helpful. But when you're improvising, you have to be careful, because if you're improvising over something and you don't really have a melody in mind, you might come up with a melody, which is awesome. But all the rest of the time when you're just trying to improvise, you're just trying to solo and move around and things like that, you want to make sure that you're not just moving around doing nothing, because that's when you'll start finding that because you're a human, you'll just start repeating the same concepts, whatever those concepts are. Whether, again, it's playing fast, playing high, playing low, playing slow, playing the same rhythm, starting on the same beat. There's just so many different things that can happen. So phrasing is really, really important, and I want you to start thinking about that a little bit and see whether or not you can break down some of those walls that you have and start thinking about that the next time you improvise. Start studying it a bit more and start looking into the concept of phrasing to make your blues solos or whatever solo you're using a little more interesting.